Today on the podcast, I sat down with my friend and mentor, Alastair Smart, one of the happiest people I know. Alastair was born and raised in England, where he began his career as a police officer, a career that eventually brought him to Canada. In Canada, Alastair took on a variety of roles, from taxi driver to managing retail clothing stores, experiences that carried him across the country and helped shape the perspective he brings to life and work. Eventually, that journey led him to Calgary, where he became the very first salesperson for Big Rock Brewery, one of Canada's original craft breweries and a true pioneer in the industry. Over the years, Alastair has become a mentor and trusted friend to many people in the brewing community. He has helped build a culture rooted in cooperation and generosity across an entire industry. Alastair's story is one of curiosity, resilience, and the power of community, and it's a story we can all learn from. I am hanging out with my friend Alastair, a mentor of mine, a friend of mine. I would say probably a lot of people in Calgary and area would consider you a friend and a mentor. Is that fair to say?
I would hope so.
Yeah, that's good. So I wanted to chat with you because, like I said, you're one of those people who you're just always positive. You're always happy. And I know that, it's not that everything's always going amazing, but
Right.
you always, when you kind of face the world, you're always happy. I called you yesterday. I said, "How are you doing?" You're like, "Fantastic." Have you always been like that?
No, I haven't. And there's been I was talking to my wife about it this morning, and she reminded me of something that happened to me, and none of this is in chronological order,
Right.
in a way. And this was way back when I was working for a company called Le Chateau,
Yeah.
men's and ladies' fashions. And it was fabulous. Probably one of the better jobs I ever had because I managed the store. I
Yeah.
saw a lot of great people. And I'd phone head office and, talk to people and order stuff and do things. And then I sort of noticed that, people weren't in or calls weren't getting returned. And we had a visit from a woman called, I think it was Susie Denty.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, I said, "God, you guys are busy. No one's ever available." And she said, "Alastair, nobody wants to talk to you because you're always so negative. You're always complaining."
Really?
Yeah. And I went, "Oh, shit. Is that, you know?" When I thought about it, I thought, yeah, you phone up head office and say, "How's the weather?" "Oh, it's shitty." Or, "Yeah, I didn't get the order last week. And, it was short again." You're always complaining.
Mm-hmm.
So I sort of took that to heart and tried not to complain too much. And then, probably 10, 15 years later, when my daughters were quite young, we started going to church. And it was great. John Pentland was the minister, and him and his wife. And the specific story was what are your gifts and how do you use them?
Mm-hmm.
And he sat there and I listened to that. And on the way out, they used to shake your hand as you left.
Yeah.
And say, "Thanks for coming."
Right.
And his wife said to me, "Alastair, do you know what your gift is?" And I went, "No." She said, "You're always happy. You've got to use that." And I sort of went, "Oh." And I thought about it. And that was when I became Mr. Positive. And it really has made a difference in my life. When we bought our first house, the realtor, everything was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
This was fantastic. That was fantastic. And after working with him for a couple of weeks to find a house, I thought, why don't I try that? So I, started using fantastic. Until I walked in somewhere one day and one of my accountants and someone said, "Oh, here's Mr. Fantastic." And I thought, "Oh, God, this is getting out of hand."
Yeah.
So I act it all, but I don't always say fantastic. Everything is good.
Yeah.
And it really is. I can remember listening to, and I think it was Jimmy Hughes on the radio a long time ago now. And it was a -40, -35 day, and I was on the Deerfoot, and people were complaining about the weather. And he said, yeah, it's very hard to find something positive. So, of course, I called in and I said, there's no mosquitoes.
Yeah.
When he stopped laughing, I went, that's it.
Yeah.
Always look for the sunny side of the street.
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes they're dark and apartment buildings put clouds in the way. But I think if you're looking for it, you can always find nice things to say to people.
Yeah. Anytime we talk and you'll reference, another career that you had, and it seems to me that you've lived like 5 full lives. Like, so I want to go back to and just kind of get a sense of, how this kind of perspective unfolded. But where were you born and raised?
I was born in Stonehenge, and I spent my apprenticeship years there. No, I was born in London, England in 1944.
Yeah.
My father had a knee that was buggered up, so he couldn't join the army. And he ran British Oxygen Company, which was oxygen and stuff. He got transferred to Glasgow in Scotland.
Yeah.
And we lived there just outside of Stirling, and moved back to London when I was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
They packed me off to a boarding school. So I was in boarding school till about 17. And then, funnily enough, just after I'd left Canada, I was talking to my father. I went back on holiday, and he showed me a little letter that said, we do not think Alastair Smart should really return to school. So
Wow.
he didn't tell me this till like 20 years later.
Yeah.
So I couldn't figure out what to do. And one day, going to work in an office, I saw a sign that said, get out of the rut and into the force.
Right.
And I thought about that, and I went, well, why the hell not? And over there, you could get into be a police cadet at 17.
Yeah.
And so I became a police cadet. When I turned 18, I was a policeman. And I worked at a station called Hornsey Road, or Holloway, right away. It was just literally down the street from the women's prison, Holloway Women's Prison. What a change. What a revelation to me what life was really like. Because really, in a boarding school, you get summers up, you go to home with your parents, but you don't do anything, you don't get anywhere. I'm working in the East End of London, and that was at the time when Cyprus there was a lot of fighting in Cyprus, and the Greek Cypriots and the Turkish Cypriots.
Okay.
And I can remember I only had to do it once, was standing outside one of their cafes for 8 hours because they were firebombing each other's cafes.
Oh, wow.
I know. Nothing happened on mine. And the other big thing that happened to me was they asked for people to work a concert. And I volunteered to work it, got paid, of course. And for 6, 7 shows, and I think it was 1964 or 5, I saw the Beatles.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was a real bonus.
That's cool.
I saw the show every night for about 7 days. It was the Beatles, Rolf Harris, Cilla Black, the former. Yeah, it was fun. You think about it at the time, and then you don't, and then after 50 years, people are still talking about them in the concerts. You suddenly realize you've lived a fair bit of history.
Yeah, no kidding, hey? I want to ask you about boarding school because it seems weird to me, and it's a cultural difference. It was very normal to go to boarding school back then in England, was it not?
That's such a difficult one to answer. I think it was a holdover, I think, from the class system where, if you're rich, you've got money, you go to a boarding school, you're then sort of in the boys' club, and you've got Eton's and Harrow and
Right.
places like that. And, oh, you went there. Oh, that's good school. We'll hire you. So
Right.
there was a sort of higher level culture. And my dad wanted me to go to I went to a prep school, which again was boarding. And it made you just realize, when you think about it, it still exists
Mm-hmm.
over in the UK.
Right.
Um, it just, I love Canada.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think about that, like shipping my kids off. I mean, I like to stay home until they go to school every day. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it just, I can't imagine the thought of being like, okay, see you next summer.
Yeah, well, no, you went 3 months, 2 months, and 2 months.
Right.
So you got breaks in there, but
Yeah.
the influence of a lot of the other boys
Yeah.
influenced you because you didn't want to stick out. You wanted to be, just, I'm not going to say not noticed, but you just wanted to be another one in the crowd.
Right. Right.
And then there was some people there with exceptionally strong views and attitudes. And you sort of realized that, hey, that's going to be what it's going to be like when you graduate.
Right.
And I did graduate.
Yeah.
They just didn't want me back to take my A-levels.
That's so mean of them. Okay, so you become a police officer at 18. That seems quite young. So you kind of have this reality check of what life is all about.
Huge.
So how long were you a policeman then? And is that, if my memory serves, is that how you came over to Canada?
I was a policeman for 3 years,
Okay.
and I'm sitting looking at this police magazine, and there was an advert in there for London, Ontario. We're looking for policemen. And I sort of looked at it, and the pay was exactly triple what I was making in the UK.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, holy crap. So I decided to emigrate and came to London, Ontario as a policeman. Well, no, they had to interview me when I got there.
Right.
So
right.
I worked for a moving company, moving furniture and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I started and was a policeman in London, Ontario for 3 years.
Wow. So then how did you then transition out of that career and into like effectively your retail career? Because that's kind of a 180, I would say.
Well, you're missing a link.
Okay.
Once again, I got that. We don't seem to need to be here. I don't know. It started when they told me what they thought of my police work,
Right.
and I told them what I thought of their police force.
Right.
That was not a career move.
Yeah, they're not looking for
They're not
feedback.
Yeah, no, they weren't. So I then drove a cab for 4 or 5 years.
Oh wow.
I just worked straight nights, and I had a guy who drive my car by day,
Yeah.
and I drove it at night. When you do that, you get a 60-40 usually, or 50. I gave mine a 50-50. And so, yeah, it was a great time. It was another eye-opener working straight nights, but there wasn't as much traffic, and trips tended to be longer.
Right.
You didn't have to go to Safeway and pick somebody up for $2 and take them around the corner. You got your good trips at night. And then I'm sitting in the cab one night looking at magazine paper, and Telus was looking for what? Was it Telus? Telus was looking for agents, and then there was another one there for Le Chateau.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't know. So I applied for both, and the guy from Le Chateau happened to be coming to London that day from Toronto, a guy called Barry Cameron. And I'd worked nights, finished my shift, had the car because my guy couldn't work that day or something. And I met Barry Cameron, and we went for breakfast and an interview. And at about 1:00, we're still talking. And he said, "Can you meet me at the airport at 4:30 and we'll go to Toronto? I want you to work for me."
Oh, wow.
So I went to Toronto for a few days training, and then I was managing this Le Chateau in a place called Hudson's, not the Bay,
Right.
but just Hudson's in London, Ontario. I did that for about a year and a half, and I seemed to have a knack for taking something that wasn't doing very well and turning it. And they transferred me to Windsor, Ontario. And after 2 years or a year and a half there,
Yeah.
transferred to Edmonton. I closed down their boardwalk store for them because they were pulling out of the boardwalk.
Right.
And I managed their store in Londonderry. And then transferred again, this time to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years in Winnipeg and it was right near Portage in Maine. And everybody apparently in Canada knows Portage in Maine is Winnipeg.
Okay.
And upstairs was the Winnipeg Ballet.
Yeah.
That was where they trained. So there's a lot of interesting people going through. Busy store, great kids, and then transferred to Toronto.
Oh, nice.
And then after Toronto, that was on 355 Bloor Street, I think it was, right downtown.
Yeah.
Great location. Once again, great staff.
Yeah.
You pick them, you get them, because you know what you want.
Yeah.
And from there, it was back to Edmonton. And when I was in Edmonton, a gentleman called Peter Davis saw me and wanted me to work for him. I went from Edmonton to Calgary, and in Calgary, I was managing the Le Chateau store, but Peter Davis, who was with Fairweathers, wanted me to go and work for him. So he made me an offer, and I opened the store in TD Square.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So why did you have that willingness to move?
I was single.
Okay. So this was like,
it's
great
another
way to see the
challenge.
country.
Oh, great way to see Canada and get opinions on things, people, and places. Met some amazing people along the way. And of course, in my Fairweather days was when I got that occasion about, you're always so negative on the phone.
Right.
And, I've got to say it's so neat being positive.
Yeah.
Like there was a woman this morning wearing a different swimsuit than a it was a new one. And I said, you know what? That's just looks amazing. And God, her face lit up. It was just, oh my God. It just, I don't know. I love seeing happy people, making people happy.
So what was it then when you were at Le Chateau? Like you said, you had a knack for turning things around. So it wasn't that you were completely, negative all the time. Like what was your kind of skill set that was unique for you to be able to do stuff like that?
I think it came to me from my time with Le Chateau. Hershey Siegel, who owned it, came in the store and he was talking to me. And there was a customer in there. And I said to him, I'm sorry, I've got to look after my customer. And I was, in my mind's eye, I'm going, what do I do with the guy who owns the company and I've got a customer there? Do I talk to the customer or do I ignore the customer and talk to him? So I made him wait. I served the customer, and that ended up getting told to us at meetings. Why had one of my managers make me wait while he served the customer? And it was that I think really made me realize who the important person was.
Right. Yeah.
They're not interrupting my day. They're the reason I'm here.
Totally. When you get that, you go to stores sometimes and it's just like, you'll sit there and you're being ignored. And it's just like, without customers, you
Yeah.
don't have a job. Like it
Well,
needs to be the priority.
oh, it has to be. And I mean,
Yeah.
um, I get annoyed when I don't see the customer service that I should. Um, it's just, but you have to realize that there's people, and there's not people. And I think if you're hiring people, you've got to understand what you're doing and you've got to put them in the right job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've had girls work for me who may not have been as good salesperson as I expected, but they were brilliant as cashiers.
Mm-hmm.
They balanced every day, and I had other ones that I had that were just, rock stars. And I had just, I still look at schedules that I made out. I don't have many of them left now,
Right.
but I look at the schedule from Winnipeg, and you look at the names and places, and you can still see the faces. And no, there was a lot. Always had a lot of rock stars, and I was lucky too when it came to Fairweathers and TD Square. When we opened that,
Mm-hmm.
I discovered something. I think it was called Opportunity 45, 65. It was a government program that sent you people who, let's say, they had a career. The kids have grown up. The kids have got, they've moved out, and they looking for something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I got some just honestly crackerjack sales ladies,
Yeah.
older ladies, but damn, they could sell.
Yeah. I love that. So I'm fairly obsessed with the concept of habits. When you talk about having, like people were telling you you're negative, so people are avoiding you. Um, being negative becomes a habit, right? It's like,
Yes.
so everything is coming out of your mouth is like you're looking
Yeah.
at things negatively. How for you were you able to overcome that? Because it's some people might just say, well, that's just the way I am, and just take it or leave it. Like, how were you able to kind of do a 180 on that?
Because I wanted to.
Yeah.
It just, I think if you realize, difficult one to, my thought is that when you're positive, hang with positive people. Well, when you're negative, hang with positive people because you'll change. I would go way back to shortly after I arrived in Canada. There's a whole group of us English guys that always used to hang out together, go and do stuff. And the big comment that it's not like the pub back home. Yeah, the liquor laws suck. I don't like this. I don't like. And I realized that I was becoming that way. I was looking at Canada through UK expectations.
Right.
And you can't. You've got to look at it as it is now. Look at the neat things that we have here.
Right.
I mean, one of the things I was listening to someone complain about taxes the other day.
What?
We all do. Yeah, I know. Taxes.
Yeah.
But I think you have to look at it a bit, if you say Canada's like Disneyland,
Mm-hmm.
right? You pay to go to Disneyland, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So taxes are just plain to come Canada. But look at what you've got.
Yeah.
You've got mountains, it's such an amazing country, an amazing place to be. And I'm lucky because I've seen a lot of it, but I haven't seen, unfortunately, the East Coast.
So does that make Mark Carney Mickey Mouse then, or who's Mark Carney in our Disneyland? If we're not going to go politics,
We'll say Walt.
Yeah. Okay, and then on the habits, I also noticed your ability to kind of think back and remember names. Has that always been a natural thing for you, or is that something that you've been conscious of? Because I know that I'm bad with names, and I'm working towards getting better. But is that something you did consciously, or has that just always been natural for you?
Well, no, somebody said to me once, when you meet somebody, you've got to talk to them and use their name,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you can do it 3 times, you've at least got a bit of a chance. And as you know, aqua size now in the mornings to keep me going. And there's some great staff at the swimming pool, and I just wanted to sort of know their names. And I suddenly realized that A, B, C, D, right? And I went, oh, wait a minute, this is alphabet, because there's Brittany, there is Claire, and then there's Darlene and Doug, the manager.
Yeah.
And then today I added another one. I added another Christine.
Yeah.
So you make the effort. You try to see something about them that sticks, and you try to talk to them.
Right.
Because I think it makes a huge difference when someone calls you by name.
Yeah.
Brittany, because this woman kept calling me, Alastair, so good to see you, enjoy your pool, blah, blah, blah. I got to know her name.
Right. Yeah.
So, I call it the little shit.
Yeah.
It's the little stuff that matters.
Yeah.
It's saying thank you. It's not always complaining. It's, it's a shitty day. No, it's not. It's a summer's day in Scotland, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
It could be, because I think when you can turn yourself positive, what happens is negative people stay away.
Right.
They don't want to know you.
So it's a double win then.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
So why then, you're moving around Canada, why did Calgary become home? When you moved here, did you stay here, or was this?
No, I was in Edmonton and got transferred to Calgary, and the guy who I knew who was a fair weather supervisor in Edmonton said he wanted me to open that store in Calgary.
Right.
And I stayed in Calgary. I loved the culture. Very early on, somebody took me out for a horseback ride to Elbow Valley Stables, and I ended up working there for probably 3 or 4 years, doing the breakfasts, cooking. Like, you came for a trail ride, you paid your $20 or whatever it was. You went out for an hour and a half trail ride at 7 or 8 in the Sunday morning.
Yeah.
You'd come back, and then you'd get beans, pancakes, and eggs.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing.
So you worked there.
That while I was working at Fairweather.
That's awesome. And then in Calgary is where. So, okay, then let's talk about the transition before I ask about your family. How did you transition from retail into the beer industry, working for Big Rock?
Once again, I was very lucky. First of all, I was standing folding shirts at Fairweather's,
right,
to keep the ladies' wear looking good. And I thought, shit, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. And I can't remember who I was talking to now, but they told me there was a program done by the then Alberta government that helped you find a job or helped you change jobs. And what it was, there would be a group of 10 of us. It lasted for 6 weeks. At the end of the 6 weeks, we had to turn in the 3 jobs that people could do, that they should be doing.
Right.
And mine came back that said I should be selling tobacco or beer or spirits.
Yeah.
Right? And but I hadn't smoked in 30 years, and I'm not about to start again.
Right.
So I was looking at the paper and the newspaper, and it said Mr. McNally was going to open a brewery here, and this was in February. So I phoned him, and he said, no, I don't need anybody now, and I'm going to Hawaii on holiday, but keep in touch with me.
Right.
So I phoned him on the 17th of the month, because A, it's my birthday, and B, it was something I'd remember to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I phoned every month, and no, there's nothing there. We haven't got the building, blah, blah, blah. And then at Easter, I got the phone call that they wanted to see me, so I went to the old Big Rock, and there was Ed McNally and a guy called Bernd Pieper. Das Piep, the man who made the liquid.
Yeah.
Fantastic guy. Very German, very Prussian.
Yeah.
When you read a couple of those books, you'll see the militarists, just crazy good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The two of them were busy, so they said, "Can I come back in half an hour?" So I just walked to the corner, got 3 coffees, took them back. That was the best coffee I ever bought somebody.
Yeah. Best investment, eh?
Yeah, because Bernd liked me, but Ed thought I was a plant from Molson All at Bats, and he wasn't sure. But I kept in touch, and then they phoned me in July and said, "Look, we're going to be making beer. Do you want to work part-time?" I said, yes. I started part-time in August. And then Ed called me into his office at the end of the month and said, "Alastair." And I went, "Oh, Christ, not again." He said, "We don't want you full part-time anymore. We have to have you full-time."
Yeah.
So there I was, and that was fall of 85, and I was there until 2 months after Ed passed away. Best 30 years of my life, nearly.
Yeah.
And I don't know that many people who can say that they had a job they just bloody loved. There's a few shitty days, but you can't have good days without days that, seem to be foreboding. So
Yeah, exactly. What was it about that particular job that really resonated with you, like right off the bat?
once again, I was extremely lucky. I'm
Yeah.
sitting there with Ed and Bernd.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the sales meeting, and that's, that's all. We've got a fair bit of staff, 8 other guys. And Ed looked at Bernd and said, "I want you to brew the beer.
Mm-hmm.
Alastair, you go and sell it."
Right.
That was the only instructions I got,
Yeah.
was just go and sell it.
Yeah.
So he trusted me to sell it. So I started doing what I had to do.
Yeah.
Talk to people, go and see people, check out the restaurants, check out the bars.
The one thing I think, if people that know you realize, when you think about the beer industry, and I'll say beer community in Alberta, there's, if there's a family tree of people that have worked in the industry, you're kind of like at the top of that tree in terms of how you have the people that you've trained. And so when you think about the culture, it really has like your imprint on it. Like, because you think about the people that worked with you at Big Rock, who then went on to work at other places and really adopted a lot of your philosophies and the way that you think of things and how you do business. I don't know, like, what do you think about that? You're kind of shaking your head, but that is the reality.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. I um I think that it was a question of seeing people. I'm going to use this word magic.
Yeah.
They had magic. There was a certain something about them that I liked, something I thought that, yes, I've got this blank piece of paper and I've got to fill it with people. I've got to get people to do jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And working in bars all the time, got to meet people who you thought could help you do your job. And there was people like Tom Stewart, Peter Dolan. Gosh, there's just so many of them that I knew. There's Big Rock people, Marty Gunson, now over at Last Best, I think it is, across the street. Kelly Krall, who's now president or sales supervisor. I think he's high up over at the place in Saskatchewan.
Oh, Great Western.
Great Western.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
There's these magic people that just came into my life, and we wanted a job, and, people would often say to me, "Oh, how'd you get the job?" And I'd say, "Did you apply?" And they'd go, "No." And I said, "Well, I'm not gonna fucking hire you. They don't know you exist.
Yeah, yeah,
They have to know you exist before they can hire you."
totally.
And then there was a guy called Derek Clark. He even, when he came for his interview, he'd already written up samples of his business card,
Nice.
and he had a bottle of Big Rock with his face on it.
Yeah,
Like, man, stepping out of the box and making sure you're noticed.
yeah.
Derek unfortunately passed away a few years ago now of Lou Gehrig's. Is it?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he was drummer in a rock band.
ALS?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a drummer in a band. And after his first little while, Brian Rowland, who was the sales manager, I think at that time, sort of said, "Look," and I don't know how it happened, but Derek used to work sort of 2 in the afternoon till 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Man, he was good. He looked after the ship and anchor for years.
Yeah. So how would you describe when you were trying to create a culture? Um, what would you describe as your philosophy when you were, building out a team and creating a culture?
You need, because of what we were doing, you were meeting people for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time you see someone, I think it's an old world thing. It's that first impression.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the time from that visual first impression, whether you're going to hire people or not.
Yeah.
And then do they have the magic when they open their mouth?
Mm-hmm.
What do they say? How do they say? Well, no, I mean, it's like, I love it. I love telling people they've got the magic. Like the girls at Safeway, there's 2 or 3 of them that they get it.
Yeah.
It's the guy that just got out of school and he's at the drugstore. Man, he's got it. He has it. He's the sort of person you'd want in your team. And that's what I would do if I saw waitresses like that and I needed them on my team, then that's who I'd hire.
Right.
Damn, we had such an amazing team at Big Rock in those days.
That's awesome. So your family, you met your wife here in Calgary, right?
Yes, I did.
Was she working at the Corral?
Yes, she
Yeah,
was.
I remember you telling me that.
For your time.
So, so then you were single when you moved to Calgary.
Yeah.
Here's where you met your wife and started a family. So
Correct.
when did you meet your wife?
It was during my time at working part-time at Hubble Valley Stables.
Okay.
Where you didn't get paid for it. You got to ride in the culture, and it was cowboy, and it was everything you wanted. I think it was then Tom, who owned it, Tom Magnuson, set up a trail ride across the Indian land.
Okay.
And we had a couple of them guys riding with us, Indigenous people. And that was neat because I got to see a whole other side of Canada through them and friendship with them. And then, and I'm sorry now, I've forgotten what you asked me.
No, just how you met your wife.
Oh, one of the guys that worked with me, Jimmy Hobart,
Yeah.
gave me 2 free tickets to go to see these, what were they called? The Wranglers in those days?
Oh,
the original.
The hockey team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went down there and I'd sit in the stands, have a Mickey in my boot, because that was what you did in Canada in those days.
Yeah.
And she would tell her usherettes to keep an eye on that guy up and wherever it was. And then one day don't get me wrong, I wasn't drunk or getting hammered all the time. I came down the stairs, came around the corner, and I saw her kneeling down, talking to 2 little kids.
Yeah.
And something in me said, "That's what your wife should be doing. Why didn't you marry her?" And I went, "Oh, why not?" Asked her out, and here we are.
Oh, wow. And then, how old are your kids then now?
They're adults.
Yeah.
One's 35 and the other's 30. And I don't know where those years went.
Yeah, no kidding, hey? Well, my oldest is 15 now, and I'm in that boat too. I'm like, I'm thinking about now the idea that she's going into high school. She's gonna, I'm imagining a day of being an empty nester already, and I'm like, holy shit,
Oh, God.
how does that happen, hey? So your one daughter, I know your one daughter more so than the other one because she's a singer.
Yes.
And so my kids have seen her perform a couple of times, I think. So just talk about that part of your life, like becoming a dad and how that changed things.
It changed. Did it change? Was it just an extension of who I was, but I had to modify, and not only modify some of the things I was thinking and doing, but I also had to learn a whole bunch of new stuff because it was 2 daughters.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
How fine if someone asked me this less than this week, the same question, how did I feel being a dad for the first time at 40 or something?
Yeah.
How did you think of your kids? And I just went, I think I was better able to appreciate them because they, everything happened later in life.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sure, I think that a lot of people think about the future. What is it? Who's in it? I'm running out of words here.
Yeah. But I mean, because I know for me, when I had my first daughter, I feel like it was kind of crystallized. Certain things that I thought mattered stopped mattering, and certain, you know what I mean? It just,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you realize, like, okay, you're a little bit more laser focused, or at least I was. Sorry. So I'm always just curious, like, and you have 2 daughters, I have 2 daughters as well. So it's just the idea of, yeah, having these girls. I always imagine, okay, if I have boys, like, they'll play hockey and they'll do this, and then when I have girls, I'm like, okay, they're bringing me into their world, right? So
I think you have to be willing to go into their world.
Mhm.
Something I still remember this day is playing with Duplo, which was the bigger Lego.
Okay, yeah.
Lying on the floor and building houses, and then having the little figurines and the girls and the washrooms here and the bar, just all that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And Catherine, my older daughter, is off to Toronto next week on business, and
Yeah.
she's just as strong as Catherine, but she's more in the background because she's not putting herself out there.
Right. And then, so just as far as, like, they're older now, they have their own lives, but would you, like, is it daily connection, weekly connection? Like, are you still pretty tight with them?
Yeah, I'd say very tight with them. It's it's funny how they've gone from little kids to teenagers to adults. Like, no, they're the same as me.
Yeah.
They're adults.
Yeah.
They can make their own decisions. They can stay out till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
and suffer the consequences, and I don't have to be involved.
Yeah.
I think I'm very impressed with the way they've grown and what they do. And of course, they're 2 different worlds.
Right.
And I think it's interesting what do you call success?
Mm-hmm.
What you and I call success may be not the same as what they do.
Right.
But they're both very successful
Mm-hmm.
in what they're doing. And it makes you realize that, hey, come on, it's not our rules and regulations and our expectations, it's theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at it and you go, on the one hand, you got this one who sings, and then you got this one who's very, money wise. And that's what she's doing now, is she's selling for, I think it's called Enrich.
Okay.
And they talk about, money stuff that we should all know.
Right.
They're not an investment company, but they just tell you stuff you should know about how investments grow. And
Yeah.
like, $25 a month that you'd never miss. Suddenly you've been doing it for 10 years and you've said, oh my God. And then when you invest it, it makes even more money and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That nobody, I think I should have known a lot of it and I didn't. I had to learn slowly.
Well, I literally just read, because I'm in that same boat. I read The Wealthy Barber.
So did I.
There's a new edition out. So
Oh.
okay, I should probably finally read this. And
Read it.
there's so many things that are just, I think you get to a certain point where you feel that you should know it. And so you just are almost too scared to ask, because it's just like, I can't be, people are going to think I'm dumb if I don't know the answer to these questions, right? So it's such a good book to read in that.
No, I read the original.
Did you? Yeah.
And that's what one of the things in it I started doing was putting, I think it was $100 a month away. Take it out of my paycheck. And I didn't want to see it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of 10 years, you're going, oh. And then the government, when they start offering you money for housing and stuff like that, you've got that, and you've done other stuff.
Yeah.
Is it better compound? What's compound interest?
Yeah.
And once you realize it, you sort of go, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's nice.
Compound is good.
Yeah, compound is your friend. So I'm curious about, okay, there's two kind of components. You mentioned that you are going to Aquasize every 3 days a week, you said?
I am right now, yes.
Yeah. So the way that, I guess for me, I think I prioritize, the positive daily habits.
Right.
And how much do you think in your day-to-day happiness, having those types of habits, is that a big part of your happiness equation, would you say?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because what I'm with a group of people doing something that they want to do because they want to be fit, or they want to lose weight, or they're just doing it because, hey, you're here today. How are you doing? Oh, we haven't seen him for a week or 2 weeks. I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're doing something you want to do with people that want to do it.
Right.
So you've got this positive vibe.
Yeah.
Which makes it amazing.
So what do you do? Because you are technically, I would say you're retired, but you still work.
Yep.
How many days a week do you work?
I usually work about 4 hours a week. And then Christmas time, it can be twice or 3 times a week. And if they're stuck, somebody's sick and there's a problem, I'm there if they need me.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't want to, and they've been really good, this is Willow Park liquor store down at the south end of the city, is they try not to use me 2 days in a row.
Right.
Maybe work one, skip one, work one.
Right.
Because when you go on the floor, you got to play the game. You got to be the magic. You got to sell.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that, do you do, like, why do you do that?
Because I love it.
Yeah. Because it's not like is it part of, like, let's say, if part of the daily habits are physical exercise, so taking care of your physical health, does that kind of check off the mental health box in terms of like staying?
Oh, yeah, it's for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I met some really neat people doing it.
Yeah.
You get people saying, oh, yeah, well, I saw you at the Italian Center, and I was going to say hello, but I didn't know you'd recognize me,
Yeah.
It's a lot of good people out there.
I like that. One thing, I was reading an article a while ago, but one thing that you seem to be really good at is men tend to lose their kind of circle as they get older. And so, like, if you're in university or in your 20s, you have kind of maybe your buddies that you golf with or that you go for beers with and stuff like that. And for most people, that world kind of shrinks as they get older, especially like for men that, maybe you're starting a family. And so you're focused on that. You seem to have always been able to prioritize friendships. Is that fair to say?
I think it depends on the stage of life you're at,
Okay.
because you literally run out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been very lucky from the point of view after I retired. My wife's been very supportive of me, like every day. Not every day. A lot of, I'm going out for coffee with people I worked with 20 and 30 years ago. We worked together. And it's good to see them. You see, I found that over the years, it was harder to make male friends
Mm-hmm.
than it is to make female friends.
And why is that?
Because you can't walk up to a guy in a bar and say, "Hey, how's it going? You want a drink?" Hey, a girl, you do that, and then friendships grow out of it.
Okay.
Guys, back in the day when I played rugby,
Yeah.
yeah, you got to know guys that way, but you had to go out to meet them, and then they had to accept you in their groups because, you know, most of them had known each other 5 or 10 years.
Right.
Here I am coming in, I've only been in the city for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who the hell is he? Well, I don't know. Well, it just, um, I always found it harder to have male friends.
Right.
Like now I'm still, guys I rode horses with 35 years ago
Mm-hmm.
at Elbow Valley Stables.
Yeah.
We still meet. Well, there's only 4 of us left now, and it used to be 12.
Oh, wow.
And we still meet at an Earl's for lunch about 3 times a year.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Oh, I know. I love it.
So when you think about, and I know I'm kind of stuck on the concept of happiness, but what are the other components that you focus on, whether that's a daily basis, weekly basis? Like, what are the things that kind of in an ideal day, let's say, you can look back and be like, you were happy. What would you have done in that day? So you've already you wake up in the morning, you go to Aqua Size.
Yeah, it's only 3 days a week.
3 days a week.
Yeah, I don't want you.
No, I know.
I know what
I'm just
thinking.
I'm just thinking, like, what are kind of what would the check marks be that you would have to tick off to have kind of your optimal day?
Honestly, I think it all starts with a good night's sleep. And you feel good when you wake up. I achieve. I I found a way on my phone to make lists of things that I need to get done, and then I work those things into my day. And if at the end of the day I can look at it and go, well, yeah, I balanced the checkbook. I got the Seniors Day at Best Buy. I got not Best Buy, Bulk Barn.
Yeah.
I got to go there to get this. And then tomorrow it's Shoppers Drug Mart, and I got that list. I have to look after that.
Yeah.
They're the sorts of have-tos. But then in between times, it's like my daughters won't go shopping with me.
Right. Why?
Because it takes hours. Dad, you know everybody. So I'm talking to the girl at the cash desk. I'm talking to the guy that's stocking the shelves. I'm talking to the guy that's got the lotto booth, and then the girls to get the coffee.
Right.
Dad, can't you just go and buy it and come home?
Yeah.
And that to me is achievement. And if I made, going back to the minister's wife
Yeah.
and her comment, if you make somebody smile, that's your gift.
Yeah.
And that's your gift to them because you've made them happy.
How long ago was that she made that comment?
Probably 30 to 35 years.
Yeah.
Because I know my daughters were in kindergarten.
Yeah. And was that sometimes when it seems to me that really was an important thing for her to say. Like it kind of made that perspective real in your mind. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Like that comment, there were the other one about the negativity.
Mm-hmm.
And then those were the two things. And like, the first thing was the realization that if I'm in Canada, hang with Canadians, not a lot of other British people, because they're always, not all of them, some of them will complain about the weather, about like, what, come on.
Yeah.
Like, you pay your you've got your ticket for this great Disneyland, now just go and enjoy it.
Yeah. You've used the word lucky a few times. You're like in
Right?
different parts of your kind of adventure. But luck is, I mean, it seems to me that it was your ability to say yes and your ability to be flexible that kind of put you into those situations to be lucky. Like, how does one make their own luck, would you say?
Well, there was something I saw in a show the other night, and it was you have to make choices,
Mm-hmm.
and you make the choice. And I think that you have to be aware of what your choices are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, one of the things I'm going to use an expression like you tend to make your own luck because you've decided you want to get into X, Y, or Z.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell them you exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I want to sell beer. Well, have you talked to a brewery? No. Well, if you talk to them, yes, but they never get back to me. Okay, so go to another one.
Yeah.
It's just, I think you have to make yourself available to be lucky.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like a lotto ticket.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to win it unless you got a ticket
Right.
because you never put yourself in a position to be lucky.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think you have to be receptive to luck when it comes along.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. So looking back at, your 5, 10 lives, however many lives you've lived, like from, living in England, to just present day, is there something, or is there a time in life or that you're really proud of?
I in my personal life, it's Janet, my wife, and then Catherine and Hannah. And in my business life, it was probably taking, um, being the original salesman at Big Rock Brewery and being with it on its ascension.
Yeah. And what would you want your legacy to be when people talk about you? I was just with Tom last night, actually. Tom Stewart, you mentioned. He's still a bad influence, by the way.
He had gray hair.
Yeah, yeah. But what do for those people that that you've been a mentor to and a friend to, what do you want your legacy to be with them?
I never. I really not sure what to say to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I think my legacy would be that if by knowing you, either closely or just in passing, and I made you feel better,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have to be it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I was very lucky, and I've heard that expression from that minister, and yeah, just make people happy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's been what, probably, we've known each other for probably 20 over 20 years.
Yeah.
But, I feel lucky for having met, people like you, when I first started doing what I do. And like you mentioned, Tom, and a lot of, Craig and Pete, and
Yeah.
these are people that I still get to see on a weekly basis. So,
But that was the team, that magic team we had.
mhm,
I just it Justin Barber, Bill
yeah,
McKenzie, all those people, Craig, I just if o yeah, that was an amazing time in my life with that team of people, and I will apologize to the 2 or 3 people or 10 people I forgot to mention,
yeah.
because I know someone's gonna phone me up and go, "You didn't talk about me."
Well, hey, you're 81 years old. I mean, cut the guy some slack, man.
Yeah.
When's your birthday? You said it's the 17th of what?
Oh, some month coming, I don't know.
Yeah, I know it's close. I know that, but thanks for doing this. I appreciate that.
Well, if it brings a smile to your face and that's about all I can say. I just, thank you for listening, and it was a pleasure. It was a great way to spend a Wednesday afternoon on a nice summer's day in Scotland.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, man.